is David Scott, and I'm here to share my testimony about how God brought me back from what some would call the brink of death, and He has enabled me to continually gain in healing. I'm reminded constantly that I'm not responsible for much of what happens to me in general. So this experience has been very humbling. I'm reliant on God and other people for most of what goes on in my life. Prior to the stroke, I would have been self-sufficient and able to accomplish most of what I needed on my own. Some may know that I own my own painting business and was self-employed as a musician as well. I'm not that person anymore. For one, I can't be. But the evening of this life-changing event, November 12th, 2021, I was busy performing with the choir, Two Rivers Chorale. For some reason, I had a headache and felt slightly dizzy, and my wife found me coming out of the sanctuary complaining of vertigo. We went to the men's dressing room, the choir room, where I laid down on the floor. My wife, Jen, sat in a chair looking over me while I was laying down. We talked for a few minutes about minor things. It was a choir concert after all. Okay, I don't remember much, but I do remember my friend Bruce was also present for the moment. Now, here's my wife Trouble to finish the story.
I'm Jen, David's wife. So picking up where he left off, at some point, David became, as we were talking, he became less responsive. So I decided to take David to the ER. First, I asked David's buddy, Bruce, if he would sit with David while I went and got the car. When I returned, Bruce ran up to me and said that David had a seizure. I asked him how he knew that it was a seizure, and he replied, because his eyes rolled back. When I got to David, I pulled both of his eyelids back and noticed that both pupils were fixed and dilated. I looked directly at Bruce and I said, call 911. Once the 911 operator was online, Bruce handed me the phone and I explained the situation. The paramedics arrived within minutes. I remember the paramedics recommending that David be transferred to Regions Hospital since they had a stroke center. I left first and actually arrived before the ambulance. The reason I beat the ambulance was because David needed to be intubated first due to the fact that he'd stopped breathing. The ED doc informed me that David had suffered a massive right-sided hemorrhagic stroke in addition to a left-sided contusion. The staff pressed me with questions of when David fell. I said, he never fell. This is a point that is still not understood even today. But that really didn't matter because the bleed was so massive that his brain began to fill up with blood. The neurosurgeon assigned to the case was Dr. Meyer. Dr. Meyer told me that David had minutes before he would be brain dead, so it was imperative that I give consent for the craniectomy. That's a removal part of David's skull. An hour or so later, David was out of surgery and the prognosis was unclear. Dr. Meyer said he was able to relieve the pressure. However, he had no idea if David would ever wake up. And even if he did wake up, he couldn't say what David's state of mind would be. Now it was a waiting game.
This picture was taken after I'd come out of surgery to remove the right side of my skull to relieve the mounting intracranial pressure caused by the brain bleed. The next memory I have is hearing my friend Michael Bissonette playing percussion, and later another friend, Josh Schut, playing guitar. My wife said I was at Regions Stroke ICU for that. Most of the recovery in the hospital is a blur. I remember a lot of singing and the room decorated for Christmas. I also remember seeing the Capitol from the room, and later my friend Michael Ballard playing a saxophone outside in the garden. And this was at a different location at Courage Kenny in Golden Valley. While I was in the hospital, my family was told that my condition was custodial, which means that I should not expect to get better. the recommendation was that I move to a nursing home. My wife said no. And so began the fight. While Jen battled with the medical administration side of my recovery, I began my battle with recuperating through therapy. Remember, I was not expected to be able to do much of anything. After 8 months of hospitalization, I was discharged to home in July of 2022. I was discharged with a feeding tube transferred by mechanical device known by many as a Hoyer, and was embarrassingly using adult diapers. I was confined to either a bed or a wheelchair. I was speaking in a whisper for most of the time, even though I thought I was completely audible. The worst part was that I thought I was living in some doctor's house, and I kept wanting to go upstairs. Once home, my wife convinced the speech therapist to order a swallow study, so within 9 days of returning home, I was freed of the feeding tube and able to eat solid food for the first time in 8 months. This was another life-changing miracle, one of many as we would soon live out. Once home therapies were finished, we moved on to pool therapy at Courage Kenny in Golden Valley. After 2 sessions of pool therapy, we were told that I wasn't improving enough to come back to Courage once my leg contractions were resolved. That did not go well with my wife. By the grace of God, our neurosurgeon, Dr. Meyer, recommended that we try Regions Neuroscience Center under the direction of Dr. Stephen Jackson for further PT-OT. My first appointment with Dr. Jackson was profound. Not only did he encourage us, including my dad who was at the appointment, but to try his program, but more importantly, he prayed with us and for us. This appointment gave us a lot of hope. Soon after that, we began the therapies in earnest. This included physical therapy and occupational therapy. The physical therapy began with balance and coordination exercises, as well as exercises designed to help with my vision loss due to my left field cut. I also continued pool therapy with a group called NeuroSplash. This was a private pay therapy that utilized group dynamics to promote healing. This class was extremely beneficial in helping me to get to the next level for walking, because in the pool, I was able to build confidence as I was able to move without fear of falling. In addition to the multi-layered health therapies, I also was blessed by many people in churches, this one included. This church included, because they were praying for complete healing and trusting God to work through my therapies. I want to take a moment to recognize some of the crucial aspects of hidden helps. Some of you may be familiar with Caring Bridge. This is a website that provided us with loving encouragement and support, sometimes on a daily basis. Many people also financially sustained us with gifts and acts of service. I feel like the Apostle John, who said in chapter 21:25, were every one of them to be written down. I suppose that the world itself would not contain the books that would be written. This is an expression of gratitude that goes with these words of hyperbole. I'm grateful for the army of support God granted me through this portion of my life. Much of it has been difficult at times, but I've never been alone. Miracle upon miracle, grace upon grace. God defying medical science to pour out his grace upon me and my family. November 12, 2021 left me with the inability to walk, talk, eat, or even go to the bathroom by myself. But today, July 13, 2025, by the mercies of God, I can sing, play the piano, walk, eat lots of delicious food, use the bathroom, and even ride a bike. None of these things were considered likely or even possible by the medical community. But frankly, see what the Lord has done. second picture here was taken this past, no, not
Yeah.
this one. This one?
Yeah, this one.
This one? You sure?
Yes, it's right there.
Oh. Ah, there it is. This was taken after a 6.5 mile bike ride this past Thursday. So I've been able to do things that weren't going to happen. Got a little song for you. And I'd like you to hear it and join me afterwards, please. It goes, see what the Lord has done. See what the Lord has done. What we've waited for has come to pass. See what the Lord has done. If you could understand me, sing with me, please. See what the Lord has done. See what the Lord has done. What we've waited for has come to pass. See what the Lord has done. One more. See what the Lord has done. See what the Lord has done. What we've waited for has come to pass. See what the Lord has done. Amen.